Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Neil Howard, here on Health Professional Radio. Glad that you could join us for another segment. Going to have a conversation this morning with Dr. Jayaram Thimmapuram, and he's going to talk about burnout, professional burnout, especially amongst physicians. Welcome to the program, Dr. Jayaram.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Glad that you could join us. Give us a bit of background about yourself.
I practice internal medicine, and I've graduated in the year 2012, and I've been an academic internal medicine hospitalist. I work with resident physicians at Wellspan York Hospital, and I teach them, I see patients, and I take care of the residents' education and the health issues of our patients.
You would think that physicians in the business of helping people, when it comes to burnout, it would seem that that would be extremely dangerous for the population.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Unfortunately, the medical profession, especially the physician population, they're at a very high risk of burnout. There is a lot of data showing that at any given point between 44 to 50% of physicians experience this burnout. And it is grown to such an extent that there is something that needs to be done about it. With regards to burnout, it's a combination of emotional exhaustion and sometimes developing a sense of callousness towards people. We call it depersonalization. And it can also affect the way we feel about our work, a sense of feeling of lack of personal accomplishment. These are the three components that we talk about when we discuss burnout. And it's surprising to see that a lot of physicians have these.
So if I'm understanding correctly, there seems to be two types: the callousness, the depersonalization of the patient, and the, I guess, empathy or stress of the patient's personal situation that you're trying to help. Is that the two sides of the spectrum that cause this burnout?
Yes. I think they all go hand in hand. It starts off with mostly emotional exhaustion, and it goes on to a certain extent that one starts to develop this feeling of depersonalization, and a sense of callousness sets in, and it progresses usually to a feeling that we're not performing well. And when one is burned out, it almost feels as if there is a little strand holding us together, ready to snap, almost a feeling that we are at the end of our rope. It's not a great feeling to have.
When you're a physician and you're dealing with people on a very personal level, and you connect with them, you connect with their families, you connect sometimes with their caregivers, is this burnout something that always leads to a person saying, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore? Or are there things to kind of bring you back from this level of anxiety or emotional exhaustion?
So burnout has several implications, including a high turnover at the workplace. Physicians who experience burnout are at a higher risk of leaving their jobs. And it unfortunately also affects the patient care, decreasing the quality of patient care. It can also decrease the satisfaction of the patients, and it can increase the complication rates for the patients as well. With regards to improving the situation, there have been many studies showing that organizational factors play a significant role in improving burnout, but also personal factors play a role. And improving personal resilience, improving one's own inner emotional state can help us get through burnout in a much better way, get through the day in a much better way, get through the ups and downs that the day offers in a much better way. And for me, personally, I have been a proponent of the practice of Heartfulness Meditation, which has personally helped me. And we have also conducted some studies in our hospital to see if it would help with burnout. And we have seen a pretty good result in physicians, nurses, and house staff physicians as well.
Now, I have heard of mindful meditation. What is heartful meditation?
So heartfulness meditation is a very simple, heart-based meditation practice that is aimed at achieving a state of inner balance. And the heartfulness meditation has a few sets of practices, a guided relaxation practice followed by meditation. And in this meditation, one very gently rests their attention on something good within themselves, the best of themselves. Let us call it a source of light within oneself. And as one starts to rest their attention on the source of light within the heart, slowly one begins to experience the change of inner landscape. And when I speak with our residents, I tell them that when we close our eyes, it almost feels as if we are doing nothing, but we are doing something very important, perhaps the most important thing. We are putting up with ourselves, and then we realize that it is not so easy to put up with our own selves. Mm-hmm. And if it is very difficult to put up with our own selves, how do we expect others to put up with us? But as we very gently rest our attention on the best within ourselves, on the source of light within our hearts, when the inner landscape starts to change slowly, we become a little comfortable with our own selves. And when we become comfortable with ourselves, it becomes possible for us to become comfortable with others and for others to be comfortable with us. A sense of harmony and building up of relationships can happen with this practice. Another important aspect of this practice of heartfulness is trying to see if we can get through the day in a much better way with the ups and downs it offers, and see if we can get those stresses and strains out of the system at the end of the day. When we work at a professional level, there are so many stresses and strains that we go through on a day-to-day basis. Mm-hmm. And when I take those stresses and strains with me and go home and interact with my friends, family members, my kids, unfortunately, sometimes those stresses and strains are unleashed on them. And what I do is I tell my wife, my kids, give me 10 or 15 minutes, let me come back in a better state of mind. So I go to my room, my man cave, my dungeon, whatever you want to call it. I sit down, close my eyes, and make a suggestion that all the complexities and impurities, the stresses and strains that I'm carrying within, they're vaporizing in the form of smoke from the back, top down to the tailbone, the shoulder blades, the entire back. And I sit with this idea for about 15 minutes or so, at the end of which I feel a bit lighter. Mm-hmm. And when I feel lighter, I make this suggestion that this lightness is actually filling me up from my heart and filling each and every cell of my being, almost oozing out through each and every cell of my being. And when I interact with my friends, family members in this state, it's usually a much better interaction. All this plays a role in our burnout, the way we handle things, and it can even offer a good night's sleep at night.
Where can our listeners get some more information about Heartfulness Meditation and about professional burnout?
So on the Heartfulness Institute website, it is www.heartfulnessinstitute.org. It's a very beautifully designed website which has links to the professional, medical, and educational sites. And on the website, on the medical side, there are some nice articles on burnout that one can access. It also has some of the studies that we published here, and it would be a good read.
Well, I thank you for joining us here on Health Professional Radio, Dr. Jayaram. It's been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've been listening to Health Professional Radio. I'm your host, Neil Howard. Transcripts and audio of this program are available at hpr.fm and healthprofessionalradio.com.au. You can also subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, listen in, download at SoundCloud, and be sure and subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com, Health Professional Radio.